It is third time lucky as Fog Entertainment dives into Power Book 3 Raising Kenyon. It is the third spin off of the Power universe. And I say third time lucky, can we find one of these spin offs that's actually better than the original show? Or hell, just as good? Because I feel like with Power Book 2, Ghost, to me, that is the one so far that I've watched that's closest to the original show. Is that because they're both set in New York? Is it because it follows Ghost's son? Probably. And that's not to say Power Book 4 Force is bad, but I think it is the weakest. But we're not going to waste any time. This one's back in the day. We're going to go back in the day, 39 years ago, to 1985. And I think this show is going to follow a couple of different timelines. You get 1985 to kick off the pilot. We then pan to 91. And then I believe the actual show is set in 93, but it stayed in 91 for the remainder of this episode. But for the 1985 part, essentially, we're introduced to Kanan. There's a bunch of kids fighting, and the viewer is to assume that he's probably the one beaten up, but then we get 50 Cent narrating. I thought that was a nice touch, the fact that he's narrating this. And that's an intriguing thing, though. When this show, I don't know how many seasons this prequel's going to do, but surely when it gets to its like later seasons or towards the end when they're wrapping it up, I think it would make sense to bring 50 Cent back to play Kanan again. Because I think, yeah, it makes total sense. 50 Cent can't play a teenager. I mean, the guy's like near 50, but can he play a guy that's like, you know, if they do a couple of time skips, it's near 30? I think it's believable. You know, we've got makeup, you've got de-aging equipment that you can use. I mean, I don't think it's worked perfectly in movie and TV shows throughout the past, but I mean, as we've seen in Better Call Saul, I think with some characters it worked, some it didn't. But I would like to see 50 Cent definitely in here to some degree. But we're introduced to Kanan, we're introduced to his mum's boyfriend who gets killed a year later, which he explains in the narration. And then we're introduced to Jukebox. And if you remember, Jukebox died back in season 4 of Power. So, yeah, it is, of course, Kanan's cousin. But he's like, oh, my cousin. I loved it. It's like, hold on, mate. I mean, pretty much put a bullet in her back in season 4 of Power. And I got the vibe that they were close, but I didn't really get the vibe that they were as close as he's making it in this prequel. But here, I guess we can rewrite history. But yeah, he grows up here. He puts a bunch of batteries in a sock after getting battered. He goes back out and he starts battering them with a sock. So yeah, Kanan stood up to himself. We then fast forward to 91. He's a bit older. I'm not too sure what age he is here. I would probably guess around 15, 16. Definitely around that age. But essentially, you've got his mum and her brothers. They're running a few blocks in Jamaica, Queens, and they're going up against a rival gang. So again, what I like about this episode, it is your pilot episode, but it has pretty much explained, right, this is the territories, this is who has which block and all that good stuff going forward. But I hate when a show begins and it feels like it's all over the place. Like, I feel like already with one episode in, the ground rules have been laid down and laid to fight. And we're introduced to his friend group, Jukebox, obviously still there. Got this Puerto Rican kid, famous, got D-Wiz, and a few other kids at his school. But essentially, his mum wants to get him to pass this test, but then he throws the test away because he wants to grow up in Jamaica, Queens. He doesn't want to grow up with the white boys down on Wall Street. He wants to be carrying a gun. He wants to be walking those corners, so to speak, and essentially throws the test. He starts just ticking every answer as B, and obviously every answer's not going to go B, even in a multiple choice. He's going to get a few of them right, but he's not going to get any of them right. He throws the test. A deal, an arrangement is then made between the two groups, and it turns out his mum has actually gave up her corner, but then one day he's returned home from school with his crew, even though they're like 15, and he sees it, like, blatant disrespect. So yeah, we see him get his first kill in here. And I like it because 50 Cent's narrating, and I hope it's not just a pilot thing. I hope he narrates throughout the 3 seasons of this show. But I get it, 50 Cent's a busy guy. I'm not too convinced he will be doing that. So yeah, this guy is his first kill, and obviously the rival crew initiates retaliation, sprays him up at his house. We got a big shootout scene at a diner, and his mum's like, you've got to go live with Big Mama, and that's what they call it. That's what they call their grandmas over in the States, Big Mamas, or maybe that's just the African American community. So yeah, that's what she's trying to set up for him going forward. I believe, I can't remember necessarily where she was at, was it Ohio? It might have been Ohio. So I'm thinking if there is a time skip at the end of this episode, because essentially at the end of the episode, his mum realizes, like, here, we're not going to send you to your grandma. I was going to, but you're going to learn how to shoot. Then we see Kanan learning to shoot here. And then I loved the ending of the episode where it was like, you know how my story ended, my first fight ended, and then you know how my first fight start it and end it, and now it's like, now you know how my story starts and how you know how my story ends. But motherfucker, we gotta get to the middle. So you've got for 91 up there. In what year were they died in? Par's timeline, probably like what, 2018? Something around then. And I like that. I think when you've got a show and you've got a universe and you've actually got a great timeline in place, you can definitely use a timeline to your advantage. But I think some shows mess it up. I mean, we've talked about it a million times, but The Walking Dead is all over the place. The timeline in that show is all it's a fucking disaster. I get it. In a post-apocalyptic world, they don't really go by years. Like, it's not like, oh, that was 2012 when Rick left the farm. It's more like it was 2 years since the outbreak he left the farm. But here you've got the actual, the time stamps. You've got 85, you've got 91, you've got him referencing to the future, which I liked as well. I mean, I wouldn't say any of the characters are particularly, great yet, but we're one episode in. Also, I mean, is there anything woke about it? No. It's set in the early 90s. There's nothing like that. I mean, Jukebox is a lesbian, but she was a lesbian in part, so it makes sense to follow that route. 50 Cent's not woke anyway, so it is what it is. But that's where we're going to leave this Power Book 3 review. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I thought it was pretty much everything a pilot prequel should be. Is it the best the spin-off premieres? I think I gave Power Book 2 a 3 out of 10. And I think I gave Force 7 out of 10. I'm going to give this episode... I'm going to give this episode an 8. I thought it was pretty brilliant. I thought the way they'd done it, especially with 50 Cent narrating it, really helped it. I think if you take him narrating it out, I mean, you're probably going to be looking at... maybe like a 6, honestly, because I do think him narrating added so much to it, and it's different because we haven't had anybody narrate in the show, and I feel like other shows that do kill off major characters, a great way of including them in the future probably would be this way, the way Pars include it. 50 Cent narrating is Kanan Stark. So anyway, guys, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. That is back in the day. We've got 9 episodes to go this season. Reaping and Sowing is the next one. So until next time. Peace.